Freedom of the press is a precious privilege that no country can forego. This was the statement made by Mahatma Gandhi ji with respect to the freedom of the press. Hello everyone and welcome back to your channel Lawpedia. So आज के हम अपने इस वीडियो में समझेंगे freedom of the press. Why is it important? What is the constitutional protection provided for the same? Important dimensions of freedom of press, उसके important case laws and other aspects which are related to the freedom of press or other acts which control your media industry. Let's get started with the video. So before moving forward and actually understanding what are the various case laws and what is the constitutional protection provided to the freedom of press, हम यहाँ पे समझ लेते हैं what are the important dimensions and why are we so concerned about freedom of press or media. So according to a recent released ranking, that is the Global Press Freedom Index, India's position deteriorated from 142nd to 140th position, and the report was released by Reporters Without Borders. In another incident, an FIR was filed against a journalist for her work in Prime Minister's parliamentary constituency. Also, the communication blackout imposed in Kashmir last year, which is the longest ever blackout in terms of your access to internet ever imposed in a democracy, thereby impacting businesses like Saffron and Apple trades in the region itself. So, such instances have raised an important question that how are we dealing with the backbone of the democracy, or sometimes also known as the fourth pillar of the democracy. Let's move forward. So अब हम आते हैं constitutional protection पे. Our constitution does not expressly provide for protection of the freedom of press. However, it is implied from the freedom of speech and expression guaranteed by Article 19(1)(a). Okay, and this right is not absolute as the state can impose reasonable restrictions under Article 19(2). So broadly, what are the reasonable restrictions provided in your 19 clause 2? They are sovereignty and integrity of India, security of the state, friendly relations with the foreign state, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of the court, defamation or incitement to any offense. So these are some of the broad reasonable restrictions provided in your Article 19 clause 2. This particular provision is applicable only to the citizens. And lastly, the essence of freedom of press lies in the wide circulation and its access to mass media. So ये particular statement हम आगे case laws में समझेंगे. जब हम freedom of press की बात कर रहे हैं, we are talking about both qualitative and quantitative aspects. That means ना ही कि we can publish the news, but we have a right to mass circulate it, or we have a right for its wide circulation to as many people as possible in the country. So I hope you understood the constitutional protection provided to our freedom of press. Now let's understand what are the other rights available to the press according to the interpretations of the various case laws of the Supreme Court. First is printing and publishing of the news. Press को बिल्कुल right है, it can print and publish the news. Second is press has a right to print the views or opinions. So इसमें दो cases हो सकते हैं, views of the editor or views of the any other person approved by the editor or the institution itself. So this is also one of the right available to the press. Third is to circulate views in the entire society. At the same time, कोई भी ऐसा law नहीं हो सकता जो press के views को एक particular area में confine करे, because press has the right to circulate its views as wide as possible. Next is right to comment on public affairs and to collect diversified information. The press has been given this right to comment on the public affairs, whatever is going on in the society, as well as it has the right to collect information from diversified sources so that जो वो information public को provide कर रहे हैं, it is authentic and it is valuable. Next is the press also has right to analyze and criticize policies of the government. Mind you, यहाँ पे restriction भी है कि this should not endanger or come in the way of the national security of the country. So जब आप Supreme Court की judgments पढ़ेंगे, you will realize these are the various aspects of the dimensions in which फ्रीडम ऑफ प्रेस हैज बीन ग्रांटेड एंड ये पर्टिकुलर राइट्स हम प्रेस को बिल्कुल दे सकते हैं विद सर्टेन रीजनेबल रिस्ट्रिक्शंस जो आती हैं आपके 19 क्लॉज 2 में. Now let's quickly move on to the case laws. There are certain fundamental case laws जो आपको पढ़ने चाहिए जब you're understanding freedom of the press. So the first case law which you can read, which I have not stated here, will be Romesh Thapar versus State of Madras. इसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये कहा है freedom of the press is at the foundation of all democratic organization. मतलब freedom of the press will form the basis of all democratic organization. This was stated in your case Romesh Thapar versus State of Madras. उसके बाद आपका इंपॉर्टेंट केस आता है सकाल पेपर्स वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया. अब इस पर्टिकुलर केस में क्या हुआ था? इस पर्टिकुलर केस में एक ऑर्डर को चैलेंज किया गया था जो रेगुलेट करता था नंबर ऑफ पेजेस इन न्यूज़पेपर, साइज एंड एरिया ऑफ एडवर्टाइजमेंट्स. गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने कंटेंड किया इस केस में दैट इट इज अ सेपरेट फंडामेंटल राइट that could be restricted on the ground as per clause 6 of article 19. So जो आपका clause 6 है article 19 का वो basically restrict करता है practices of trade or business. तो government ने ये कहा कि we are just regulating the practices of trade or business when we are regulating or restricting the number of pages of the newspaper or the size or area of advertisements. However, court said that freedom is not only with respect to the matter but also with respect to the circulation. So when we're talking about freedom of speech and expression with respect to your press, freedom will also include volume of circulation. And in this, you will include the freedom of the newspapers to publish any number of pages and to circulate it to any number of persons. So, दोनों dimensions हैं. You can publish any number of pages and you can circulate it to as many people as possible. You cannot restrict the number of pages because if you restrict the number of pages, then newspapers will generally have the tendency to reduce the advertisements. And when the advertisements will be reduced, वो अपनी cost कहाँ से compensate करेंगे? Consumers से, because they have a certain cost which needs to be maintained, which will be met by the consumers themselves. Next important case is your Bennett Coleman Company versus Union of India. Now, इस particular case में there was a complaint against a newsprint quota, and the argument was this commercial policy impacted the press freedom. And Supreme Court ने ये कहा कि the freedom of press is both qualitative and quantitative. Freedom lies in both circulation as well as content. On the similar lines of the Sakal Papers case, इस केस में भी Supreme Court ने कहा कि जब हम freedom of press की बात करेंगे, we will talk about both freedom of circulation as well as freedom of content. So next important case आता है आपका Indian Express versus Union of India. So इस particular case में क्या challenge हुआ था? The constitutional validity of a notification issued by the center in the year 1981, जो कि specific rates of custom duty लगाता था on newsprint imported by different categories of newspaper. So newsprint यानी कि उनका जो basic raw material था that they used to import from the other countries, उस पे ये basic duty charge की थी. And this particular duty was challenged in the Supreme Court, and the main plea of the petitioner was that जो भी levy of duty on imported newsprint ये लगा रहे हैं, it is excessive and had the direct effect on the freedom of speech and expression, and thus carrying on the business of publishing newspapers. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये प्ली एक्सेप्ट करते हुए ये ऑब्जर्व किया कि जब भी हम टैक्स लगाएंगे न्यूज़पेपर इंडस्ट्री में, it should not be an overburden on the newspapers, which constitute the fourth estate of the country. And कोर्ट ने ये पॉइंट आउट किया कि the imposition of the custom duty on newsprint amounts to an imposition of tax on knowledge and virtually amounts to a burden. जब आप ड्यूटी लगा रहे हैं न्यूज प्रिंट पे या उनके रॉ मटेरियल पे, आप एक ड्यूटी लगा रहे हैं नॉलेज पे ही. कोर्ट रिजेक्टेड द प्ली ऑफ द पिटिशनर्स दैट नो ड्यूटी शुड बी इम्पोज्ड ऑन द न्यूज़पेपर इंडस्ट्री. बेसिकली कोर्ट ने ये कहा कि ना ही तो आप बिल्कुल ड्यूटी हटा सकते हैं एंड ना ही तो यू कैन इम्पोज अनरीजनेबल ड्यूटी ऑन द न्यूज़पेपर्स इटसेल्फ और द रॉ मटेरियल्स ऑफ द न्यूज़पेपर. सो एक बैलेंस्ड व्यू लेना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. Now, the next important case will be your Hindustan Times versus State of UP 2003. इस पर्टिकुलर केस में क्या हुआ? executive orders issued by the state government directing reduction of an amount of 5% from the bills payable to newspaper having circulation of more than 25,000 copies for the implementation of its pension and social security scheme for full-time journalists was held to be ultra-wise because कोर्ट ने ये कहा कि the advertisement in the newspaper play an important role in the matter of revenue of the newspaper and ये particular advertisement जो newspaper करता है इसका direct connection होता है with its circulation by making the newspapers available to the readers at a price which they can afford. So जो subsidies वो consumer को देते हैं वो अपनी subsidies को कैसे fulfill करते हैं by the advertisement section. So newspapers have no other option but to collect more fund by publishing commercial and other advertisements. Thus state ये 5% reduction नहीं apply कर सकता था because यही एक सोर्स होता है for the newspapers to earn and provide the newspapers at a affordable price to the general public. So ये important cases हैं जो आपको freedom of the press के context में पढ़ने चाहिए. So the next important factor that we'll be covering is the Press Council of India. So the regulating act of the press in India is the Press Council of India Act 1978. And the Press Council of India was also set up under this particular act itself. So इसके कुछ important section हैं जैसे कि section 13 clause 2 जो कि basically deal करता है with the functions of the Press Council of India. So जब आप broad functions पढ़ेंगे Press Council of India, they are building up a code of conduct for the print media, ensuring maintenance of the high standards of the public taste and growth of a sense of responsibility. These are the kind of functions performed by the Press Council of India. Another important section in this is section 14 जो कि basically ये बताता है कि either on a complaint or suo motu अगर कोई ऐसा reason होता है जिससे the council believes that a newspaper or an agency has offended against the standards or the journalist ethics, public tastes, professional misconduct, the council can hold an inquiry, warn or censure the offending party. So हमने already broadly discuss कर लिया है Press Council of India Act 1978 जिसने establish की थी आपकी Press Council of India. Apart from that, with the 1990s cable TV revolution, there was a need that was felt to regulate the state radio or the infant state TV broadcast sector, and for this came the Cable TV Networks Regulation Act 1995. Broadly, the Cable Television Networks Regulation Act 1995 aimed at regulating the content and operation of the cable networks. During the 1990s क्या हुआ हमने observe किया एक vast increase in the number of the cable operators. इसी को रेगुलेट करने के लिए आया था केबल टेलीविजन नेटवर्क्स रेगुलेशन एक्ट 1995. तो अगर आप सेक्शन 20 पढ़ेंगे इस पर्टिकुलर एक्ट का, ये स्टेट करता है या एम्पावर करता है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को टू प्रोहिबिट द ऑपरेशन ऑफ केबल टेलीविजन नेटवर्क्स वेयर इट इज नेसेसरी टू डू इन पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट. सो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को भी कुछ पावर्स दी गई हैं अंडर द एक्ट टू रेगुलेट द ऑपरेशन ऑफ केबल टेलीविजन नेटवर्क्स. अनदर इम्पॉर्टेंट एक्ट जो आता है आपका इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी एक्ट 2000. सो द बेसिक एम बिहाइंड formulating such a law was to provide legal recognition for transaction carried out by the means of electronic data interchange and other means of electronic communications commonly referred to as electronic commerce. And it also has provisions to deal with cyber threats as well as cyber attacks. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope by watching the video you got a brief idea about what the freedom of press is all about, what are the dimensions of the freedom of press when we are seeing various Supreme Court judgments, and हमने few Supreme Court judgments को cover भी किया है, what is Press Council of India, कुछ sections उसके, and the other Indian acts which have been framed for the purpose. Please do click the subscribe button so that you're notified when I'm uploading a video every Tuesday and every Saturday. Thank you so much for watching. Till then, stay home, stay safe and keep learning.